All right, it is time for Friday Reads. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today to share with you this video. In my Friday Reads videos, I share how my reading has been going, including what I've finished, what I've started, and anything interesting that I'm carrying over week to week. And I actually think this week I mostly have something that I finished and something that I started. I have not been doing a lot of reading. Not quite sure what's going on with that. But it's just the truth of this week. So anyway, let's get to what I finished and then what I started, and that'll be that, I guess. So the only thing I finished this week, so this will be my final finish from January, was March Comes In Like a Lion. Oh, that doesn't come out very clearly, by Chica Umino. This is a manga, and it is... That's not fun. It is, I read it on Everand. The reason, I mentioned it a few times before, I think, at least once. I don't know if a few. But, yeah, I'm reading it on Everand, and I'm looking to see how it feels to read a manga on Everand, because I can't get my library to talk to I can't download Libby on my Amazon Fire tablet. I think it's a Canadian thing, in terms of libraries and Libby and Kindle devices. It's just not, they're not talking to each other. Anyway, so I'm looking for some alternate sources. I can get Hoopla manga through Hoopla, but there's only 8 rentals a month. That being said, I didn't do any borrows last month, so maybe 8 is plenty. Anyway, so that's why I picked this one. This March Comes In Like a Lion. This is about a young player. I think it's shogi. It's a game. It's a game that looks between, that's like chess, somewhere between chess and dominoes. There's a board, there's little tablets that have markings on them and characters on them. I actually don't know. I don't remember. I don't know what the word, they look like characters or symbols, and I don't understand it. It's not so much, it is about that, it's not about that. So it follows someone, he's in high school, I think, age, and he's a very, very high-ranking player in this game, and, could even be recognized by people. But it's a very somber tone, and it doesn't tell you at first sort of why, but as the volume goes on, you start to see why that is the case. He also befriends someone, I'm not quite sure exactly how at this point, because it took me 3 weeks to read it, befriends, I don't know if he just ran into someone on the street or something, and they sort of befriend him, and he sort of spends a lot of time at their home and with their family, and it's very cute. All of that part of it I really liked. The relationship dynamics, the sort of making new friends, and especially you have a whole family, so you have all different ages, and I thought that was very wonderful. And then we also sort of hear his backstory in terms of, why he is somber, or why there's a somber tone and there's some sadness there. So I actually ended up quite enjoying it. It took me a while to get into it, but that's because there were other things that I was reading that were under more of a time crunch. And then but as it turns out, I looked it up. This is the only volume that has been translated. So it's the only one that is available. I believe the whole series has completed, but this is the only volume that's been translated, and it was translated last year. So I think I need to pick a series that has more volumes. In terms of reading it on Everand, it was okay, and it was mostly okay because it's internet speed, so it's not downloading, it's going page to page, and full illustrations. That said, reading stuff on Webtoons, when I read Omniscient Reader's viewpoint, that was no problem. I had very few times where it was a slow load, but with this I did have times where it was a slow load, and I didn't make it full screen, so sometimes the bottom sort of said the page number, and it was overlaid with some of the illustrations and some of the text, and I should have just made it full page. Both of those comments are very much regarded to laziness in terms of not making it full screen, or maybe I did it and there was a reason I didn't continue to do it, and then the other part is just internet speed. So it's that's not to do with the service, but it is to do with how well it reads. So I think for me the best thing to do is probably pick a couple of things on Hoopla, maybe some longer series, and see how that goes, because maybe 8 rentals is is enough. I don't know. So I guess I got my M for my A to Z challenge for reading manga. I haven't actually chosen any of my goals this year, but I always do. For a long time I've done an A to Z graphic novel and comics challenge, and several years ago I added a manga challenge. I've never finished the manga challenge, and I'm okay with that, because if it gets me to try some different things, and if I can find some series I really like and I stick with that series, that's good enough for me. Starting 26 new series is not the goal. The goal is to try different things. So that is what I did with this one, and so I think it went pretty well. I haven't made any progress on almost anything else, so there's literally nothing to report there. But I did start my buddy read with Izzy and K. Kelly, and that is Nevermoor, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. This is by Jessica Townsend. It is the first in I think the series is Nevermoor, and I think this one's called The Trials of Morrigan Crow. I think that's how it works. And this is a reread for me, so I have read this. I read it. When did this come out? Because for me, my brain thinks that maybe it was for this Booktube SFF Awards. This came out in 2017, so that is possible. And I just realized that one of the things is these do have illustrations on the first chapters, on the chapter titles, which is really cool. I'll show chapter 1 and they're different. I didn't notice they were different. And then let's look at chapter 2. And then it's just a little illustration, which is nice. Izzy and K. Kelly do try and read illustrated kids' books. This one's, I didn't think it was illustrated, but I guess I wouldn't call this illustrated, but I would say it has illustrations. Anyway, so this is a kids' fantasy novel, and I'm only, I think, 2 chapters in, maybe 3, and I'm not sure how I feel about this one. One of the challenges with this one, for me, is that the protagonist is what in that community or area is called a cursed child, and she's blamed for literally everything. Everything. Someone's spinach got eaten by things that eat spinach, and it's because Morgan looked at her and said, "Yum, spinach," or whatever. That's a fake example, but I know. In terms of a device, this is just, to make us on the side of Morgan and to see the unfairness and these kinds of things. But I'm just like, that is so ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. And it's not even, as far as I know, it's not like it's a mundane world. So, and I don't know why she's on the cursed child, registry. And so, and the unjustness of that really does not sit well with me. So, but it is early days, and I do think that that's not necessarily the strongest theme. It's been several years since I've read this, but that just really irks me, and so I'm having a little trouble with it. But I'm curious to see how things go. It's been quite enough years that I don't remember it all that well. And it is a fantasy work. So, and I know that that's not the if I remember correctly, I don't think that that's the primary focus, but there are a lot of things that I find, from the type of world that I find engaging. There's a big, community event that people get letters for, or, and that kind of reminds me of The Giver, there's some ties to, or the city of Ember, where things are very, very rigid and A, B, C, D, and there's a little bit of that in here as well. And so, so I think there's also City of Ember is dystopic, though, and this is not. This is fantasy. So there are elements from other stories that I really, really like, but you can't, those ones I really, really like, and this one hasn't won me over yet. So I keep on doing a bit of comparison game in my head, and I don't think that's fair on the work, but I don't know, but I keep on doing it. That's where my mind keeps on going to. So I think I really need to just be in this world for this story instead of doing that. And I think that I will enjoy it more and understand it more and experience more if I do that. So I just need, I think, a bit of a mental shift to get there. I can't remember when the live show is for this. I will put it down in the description box below. So I'll be curious to see how I continue. I'm starting this pretty early, so I like to give myself lots of time. In the first week, I often only read a couple of chapters to get things going, and that's what I've done this week. So it's early days, and I am looking forward to that. And but I really haven't been reading almost at all, and I'm a little surprised at that. And I did finish Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint last week. I didn't start a new Beatrix Potter. I didn't start the next Lisa Kessler that I want to read, which is Paranormal Romance. I completely, there's 2 mangas I had from the library that I completely didn't read, and both of them I wanted to read, and I was like, I went to read them or something. I had to do it on my phone at this point, and I was like, it says, returns in 1 day, and I was like, oh. So I had to renew the holds on that, so that was not good. And one was for My Love Mix-Up, which I just need to read the 9th volume, which is the final volume. And then I do feel horrible because other people are waiting. It took a long time to come in because it's the final in the series and it was recently translated, so of course it's going to take a while. But hopefully, it took, I think, 9 weeks to come in originally, but I hope it's not another 9 weeks. And honestly, I could read that easily in 2 nights, but I kept on being like, oh, I don't need to read it now, or oh, I'll just finish this first. And then I'm like, oh, it expires tomorrow. I'm like, that's too much pressure. So I lost the hold, or I lost the borrow on that one. So my reading just has not been great. It's not really been, I don't know, I don't have my goals. But again, as I've said, in all of my Friday reads this year so far, is normally I don't do videos this early. Normally I don't make my annual reading goals or any goals until February or mid-February. So I think it's just better to be okay. The fact that I'm actually reading anything is good, but I can feel that part of what's going on is I'm having a bit of a weird combination of being adverse to commitment at all beyond buddy reads that I've done, that I'm in the middle of, and or committed to, whatever. So that has its own energy. But in terms of I don't want to read something that's long. I don't want to read something that will take a long time. I'm not feeling super inspired to make challenges. And then that was in conflict with something else, and I can't remember what the other thing was now. So, and I think this is still coming off of spending all of that time working towards finishing the books I was currently reading and finishing them by last year in October. And I took most of last year from May to October working on that, and I keep on feeling I don't want to put myself in that position again. And I'm like, I didn't have to do that challenge. I don't have to do that challenge again. I'm not adverse to having lots of things on my currently reading. I wasn't doing something fixing a mistake I made. I was just this is a challenge I want to, and I did particularly want to finish those books, those particular titles, but I don't feel like I couldn't or shouldn't have more than X on my currently reading. I've very rarely only been reading one title at a time. When that was the case, it was when I wasn't reading a lot, and I started one thing and then finished it months later, and then read 2 things a year or something. So I don't want or need to read one book at a time, but I'm just feeling very uninspired. And I have thought about focusing a bit on series, or do I want to do a series? A lot of people are sharing their series about series lists, and I love watching them, and I love seeing what people come up with and where people's focus is, and all of the different titles. But after doing several series challenges, I've noticed for myself that the more locked in I am to something, the least it's fun to make up the list, but it's not always fun to read the list. And so that feels weird. And that makes me not even want to make lists, but I really like making lists. So I'm like, but if I don't actually read the book, where's the value of the list? like the fun had making it, you know what I mean? So I get in a bit of a spin cycle on that one, that it's like, you know, it's fun to do, but only to X amount. It feels like having a bunch of like unfinished knitting projects. You know what I mean? Like it's like you start them and then you start that one and then you start that one. It's like, oh gosh. And is that a problem? Like not really, but like, is it? I don't know. Anyway, so, but I do feel like I'm realizing, especially with like how long I have talked about books on YouTube, and I've tracked my reading like meticulously since 2010, I think, maybe 2011. So I have tons of information of how much I've read. And I have all of the past 10 plus years, I read a really large amount of works, different types of works. The focus has shifted over the years, but I'm just kind of like, it feels really weird to be uninspired on choosing something to focus on, or a direction, or like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And I don't know if it's because I have tried this and tried that and tried this, and maybe I just like the trying, and then I don't necessarily like the doing. I have no idea. Or that there's also a little bit that, you know, when I've sort of decided to read shorter works, that just puts aside so many other titles. Or when I realize that it takes me a fair amount of time to get through any novels, I think that really did discourage me in terms of reading novels, but I like reading all kinds of things. There's more than novels out there. So anyway, so obviously I'm still processing a lot of that stuff, and I guess I'm really hesitant to make any goals because I don't know. I feel like something should feel important or interesting or engaging or catch my eye, and nothing has. Nothing. So I'm just like, I'm not usually in this position, but like I will, you know, still try and do my A to Z graphic novel and comics challenge. I find that a really fun challenge, but only being able to use Hoopla right now and not being able to read from the library, definitely a detriment on that. So yeah, I am not sure. So but you know, I do really try to not be worried, given how early it is in the year. But it's very strange. I'm not usually in the position where I feel unengaged or uninspired, or not like that. I'm not even curious about making a challenge or anything like that. It's not usually, that's like my go-to, you know, and I still do like making lists, but I don't know, like I literally don't know, like am I at a point where I just don't want to read as much, you know? Is that okay? Like, of course, yes. It does make things on this channel a bit awkward. But I don't know. So I'm still, but I really, like this month, I've had many days where I didn't even read anything, which is strange. So I guess I got to figure out whether or not that matters to me or not, or something. That's, I think, what it is. I want to feel like something matters. I don't know. And I'm not feeling that way about reading. And that is very, I don't know if I would go as far to say uncomfortable, but it's definitely not how I felt for a long time about reading. And so maybe it just is like, and I don't think it's like a slump. It's just has my perspective changed? Have I done all the challenges that I want to do? Does it have to be a challenge? Can it just be enjoyment? I do want to do way more nonfiction reading. I haven't done a lot of nonfiction reading this year. I've done some. So, and I really do get a lot from reading nonfiction, especially about art and memoirs. So that's something I would like to add into the mix. I thought about reading the next in the Diary of Aeneas Nin, but it took me like, 3 years, 4 years, 6 years? I can't even remember at this point. I think it might have been 3 years to finish the first volume. I was like, I thought about it. I was like, I was there on like Everend going, do I open it? Do I not open it? So I decided not to. And I'm not usually, you know, and that's coming off of the challenge and not wanting to have something be so long. But I mean, if you're only thinking of the end result, then you're not in the moment. So, and I think maybe the spirit, I have to take the spirit that I'm thinking of taking with this book is be in the moment of this book. Be in the truth of this book. What is this character going through? Don't think about all of the other books that I've read. Don't think about all of the other characters I've seen go through stuff. All of the other fantasy worlds. What's going on here? And be with that. And I think that's the better way to go for now. And now I can't remember how that related to what I just said, but that's okay. Anyway, obviously I'm kind of here, there, everywhere. or nowhere. It's a little not disconcerting, but it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. I like knowing, I like having a goal, I like working towards something, even if it's like anything, and I just don't have anything for reading right now, and it just feels very, very, very strange. It's been a long time since that's been the case, and so I don't know, I'll just keep on muddling through as I do, and we'll see. Maybe next week I'll have some kind of realization, or maybe I'll be in the exact same spot, but further along, because I do have to read a good chunk of Nevermoor. So there you go, there's my very rambly, strange, all over the place Friday reads. Thank you so much for watching, especially for staying to the end, given how rambly that was. But yeah, I guess I'm still in very much early days of the year, even though we're now in February. So happy February. Happy Imbolc to those who celebrate, because this will go up on the 2nd. Yeah, here's to an interesting, fun leap year month ahead. Okay, thanks so much for watching.